Let's look at how we can use display block to our advantage to make this sort of layout here. So you can see I have two movies. I have the title of the movie and then the year it was released and the director. And they're in a bulleted list. So let's go to my HTML here and let's make my movies list. So I'll call it class equals details list. So each of these will be in their own LI, like this. And looking at the PSD, we have a list of movies. So the appropriate element to put a movie title in is probably the I element. So we'll put Raiders of the Lost Ark here. All right. And then the other elements we have, or the other content we have, is the year. So that would be good for a time element. Date time. All right, and then we have a little bullet, so I'll put a bullet in here. And the last thing we have is just the director's name, so I'll just put that in a span. So here is sort of the layout for my for each of these movies. So I'm going to copy this. I'll do it again for Empire Strikes Back. So here we go. I have got the HTML in here that I need. So I've got an I element because we've got movie titles, a time element because it's a year, and then just a span element to give me a little bit of control over this. So let's open this up in the browser. Let's see what we get. So it looks sort of like that. Okay, so if we go back to Photoshop now, you'll notice that this here, Raiders of the Lost Ark, is on its own line. Whereas if we look in Chrome, you can see Raiders of the Lost Ark is not on its own line. Right now, in our code, we have an I element. So an I element, by default, is an inline level element. If we go and look in our browser here at the I element, you'll see that there is no display property set to the I element. So it's just an inline. And so the time is an inline, and we have a little bit of text, and then we have another span that's inline. So all of those are inline. So if we want to create the layout that we're looking for, we really want the I element to be on its own line, but we still want time and Steven Spielberg to be beside each other. So if we go to our CSS, I can target the details list I element and set it to display block. Because if you remember, display block is going to force the I element to exist, to take up all the space on one line, and anything that comes after it is going to go on to the next line. Let's go look. So that is the look we're going for. We've just used display block to our advantage to actually create the layout that we're looking for. Let's just put a couple other things in here to make it look similar to our PSD, and then we'll be off to the races, I think. So this here is supposed to be bold, and we don't want it to be italic, so we'll get rid of that. Oh, I mean, we want to get rid of that. Normal. Okay, cool. And then we want to target details list li, and I want to put a margin on the bottom of it. All right. And I'm going to target the HTML element because in the PSD I'm using Georgia. So I just want to set this up to use Georgia. All right, that looks pretty good. I think the only thing we're missing from my Photoshop now is my title. So let's put that in. That's just going to be an H1 on here. And we just want to color that a little bit. And I believe I have the color set here. All right, so there we go. That's exactly what we're looking for. So we use the display block to force the title of the movie onto its own line, and the other two elements then go onto the line below, which is the look we were going for.